Welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor of CropLife and CropLife Iron, here again with Lara Sowinski, who has the blinds pulled, so I expect it's a nice, sunny, bright day there in El Paso.
Yes, indeed. It's a nice
Yeah.
day.
I know here in Ohio where I am, we've been part of the heat dome. We've been well over 100-degree heat index and temperatures in the 90s on a daily basis for about a week now, it seems. Is El Paso suffering as well?
Honestly, it's been unseasonably cool. We've had a lot of moisture coming up from Mexico. There's a hurricane down that way and pushing a lot of clouds. We got some nice thunder and lightning and rain, much needed. So we're in pretty good shape here. I think you guys are hotter than we are.
All right, there's just something patently unfair about
Yeah.
Ohio, Northern Ohio being hotter than Texas, but all right. Weather. I love the jet stream. It's a wonderful thing.
Sure is.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of weather, I know both of us actually were kind of teasing that we had trips coming up this week, and I'll talk about mine and then kick it over to you. But yeah, for myself, I actually got to make a trip to a state that I don't get to very often, Montana. I was in the great city of Great Falls, visiting with my friends from BASF, and there was a very, very good reason why they decided to do a product launch event in Montana, and that's because they have now introduced a new yellow seeded canola brand that they're calling InVigor Gold. And that is actually specifically designed for growers that are operating in geographies that are characterized by stressful growing conditions. And you can read into that, of course, that, not as much organic matter in the soil and heat indexes that are a little higher. So this InVigor Gold brand is going to be able to address some of those concerns. And here I have a video clip from BASF's Brian Perry, who's their head of traits and seeds. And he was talking about this new brand, InVigor Gold, as if it was a sibling to the other InVigor canola brands. So here's that clip.
So what is yellow seeded canola? I'm going to try to give you just a real simple analogy. Anybody got younger siblings or younger kids? Some of you have kids, right? How's the youngest one stack up to the oldest one on average? I know you're not supposed to compare your kids, right? Let me do it. Make sure that anybody's got the cameras rolling. Don't send this back home. And my oldest daughter, is Grace. She's the junior in NC State that wants to be a vet. My youngest is Gavin. He's the youngest of three. He's 10. Grace is 21. Gavin's 3. There's one in between. Gavin wants to be a baseball player. I'm like, okay. But Gavin's, a little tougher, a little scrappier, more so than his older brother too, right? Every kid's different. And if you think about yellow seeded canola, it's kind of like that younger, scrappier, tougher sibling that has to try to keep up with big bro and or big sis, right? Different environment, different scenarios. So you think about, at its core, it can handle the tougher conditions. It can handle those coarser type soils. So I guess, see Stu in the back nerd. You'll hear from Stu later on. He's going to talk to you about all great things that is breeding and R&D within the world of canola. Our traditional InVigor franchise is Big Bro or Big Sis, right? Really done great for themselves. And here comes the younger sibling that's going to carve its own path and do so in a different passion. Now, there are similarities and there's differences. So if I start off with what's similar, you see, there's some more things up here that are similar than different, which is good. The first is, we believe, again, we're a year or so from launching, but we believe this will be open market, open source. So what's that mean? It means that however you're growing canola today, wherever you're taking it to market, you would do the same path with yellow seeded canola. Pete Bowerman, Pete, where you at? Pete is our U.S. marketing lead for InVigor. He taught me a new word, fungible. How many people know what fungible means? got a few hands. Like, I had no clue. Pete helps me out a lot. Apparently, fungible basically means you can take a product and or a commodity and replace it with another product or commodity of identical stature, and that's what we have. We've been able to take Brassica jonesea, which is yellow-seeded canola. Traditional canola is Brassica natus. We've been able to innovate and ensure we got the same oil content and all the same characteristics and everything that we need for canola quality oil so that we can have it be open market. And that's not an easy thing to do because there were characteristics that we had to breed out from Brassica jonesea. The second is straight cutting. So for growers that today have raised canola, or maybe you're familiar with our pod shatter technology that is in an InVigor bag. When we launch yellow seed canola, we will not have the initial pod shatter trait in it, but the benefit of jonesea or yellow seeded canola is that it has a natural tolerance, a natural toughness to pod shatter, which means we'll be able to continue doing straight cutting initially. And then down the road, we're going to keep working to bring in our traded pod shatter technology, and you're going to hear more about other innovations that will come to only make it better and stronger and more productive. The other is Liberty Link, the trait platform, and the option to have new weed control solutions. This will have Liberty Link trait technology in the bag. Anybody find kochia in the room? Any other tough to control weeds? So having a new HT solution, even though Liberty Link has been in the market for a while, if you're in some of the rotations up here, some of those weeks probably haven't seen Liberty in it over the top. And so adding that same base herbicide traded platform, we believe, will really bring additional value to the overall crop system.
So that's what Brian had to say about InVigor Gold. And also on hand at this event was the Montana governor, Greg Gianforte. And here is a little clip of what he had to say about what this new InVigor Gold brand will mean for his state's growers.
Agriculture, of course, is Montana's #1 industry. It drives our economy. It supports our communities. It protects our way of life. It's truly the backbone of every rural community across the state. And you, as some of Montana's farmers, are the most innovative and resilient people anybody would ever meet. You don't back down from challenges. You find ways to grow through them. And this new hybrid BASF InVigor canola is going to help you meet some of those challenges and meet you where you're at. I was particularly excited knowing canola is not always that drought resilient. To have a strain that will be is a huge step forward. It just gives you all another option. And this is not just about cooking oil, as Krista will attest. It's a key part of growing biofuels market, and canola meal is an excellent source for animal feed. But we also know Montana farmers faced some of the toughest growing conditions in the country. Our variable climate year after year brings real risk to your operations. Unpredictable weather, unpredictable yields, and drought. Farmers need reliable crops that can perform season after season. That's why today's announcement is so important, and I'm thrilled to be here to celebrate this launch of BASF's InVigor Gold, which will give Montana more options.
So those are some of the highlights from the BASF launch event for InVigor Gold. Now, if you're wondering, they anticipate that InVigor Gold will be approved for commercial use by 2027, and that'll be in the northern Great Plains states, which would include Montana, of course. And they're anticipating approval in the central Great Plains, more Kansas, Nebraska, New Mexico, Wyoming way, around 2029, and they expect approval in Canada sometime by 2030. So that's the scoop on InVigor Gold. And again, our friends at BASF, they put on a great event, and I know they've been hinting at a lot of things coming. I know they talked about the Nemosphere, the nematode seed variety they've got coming in the marketplace. So sometime between now and the end of the decade, there's going to be a lot of seed activity from our friends at BASF.
It's great. I'm glad you had a great time. Did you bounce around in the plane while you were going over the mountains?
Actually, no, it was a very, very smooth plane ride. Very scenic. I mean, it was kind of, getting away from the heat dome was nice because I got, in Montana they did not have, the day of the event it was like 79 degrees, but the humidity
Oh,
was only 41%, so it felt
wow.
nice and comfortable. And I got to say, in the evenings there, I actually had taken a jacket because it was getting down into the 50s. So.
Wow.
It was a nice place to be. So that's where I was. Where were you, my dear?
Well, I was in North Carolina. I was a participant in the Women in Ag Producer Tour. This is sponsored by the Cotton Board and Cotton Incorporated. It was a fantastic tour. Honestly, there were about 84 women that participated on this tour, primarily growers and ginners from the Cotton Belt states. So we had a lot of women from Texas, from Georgia,
Oh,
from Arizona. And the goal of the tour really is to bring in primarily growers and ginners to show what happens to U.S. cotton once it leaves the gin. So at the Cotton Incorporated World Headquarters, which is in Cary, North Carolina, they have really what's set up as a state-of-the-art textile pilot facility with 5 main laboratory areas. So you kind of see on a smaller scale, we broke up like into 4 groups, set out across the facility and stopped in at these 5 labs. So these 5 labs: fiber processing, product development, dyeing and finishing applications, color services, and product evaluation labs. So it was great. We really got to see, and it was funny because, I mean, for me, it was obviously going to be a learning experience. First time I've seen any kind of facility like this and spinning and what happens. But even for the women that, really have been doing this their whole life, whether it's growing cotton or doing the ginning, they just kept on saying over and over again, wow, I never realized what happened and all this that's going on. It was really great. We had a great tour. We were in there probably for about a good 3 or 4 hours, I would say. But really, I just want to say thank you to Stacy Gorman. Stacy's the director of communications for the Cotton Board. She was, she led putting this program together. They do this once a year. It's typically in June, and the turnout was fabulous. Everyone had a great time. And speaking of BASF, they were one of the sponsors, one of 4 sponsors for this program. So super, super appreciative of BASF, Bayer Crop Science, John Deere, and Tama. Tama makes the wraps. This is not to side. This is a cotton bale
no.
that has the wrap, and Tama did a pink wrap to raise awareness for breast cancer research. So we got, even some very nice, thoughtful takeaway gifts. We also spent the last part of our tour. We visited Gildan Brands. They have a sizable spinning mill in Sanford, North Carolina. Just a massive plant that they take the U.S. Produced cotton, 85% thereabouts, US grown cotton. Some of their production, they don't use US cotton depending on what it is, but primarily US produced cotton. They spin it into yarn. They have production facilities down in Honduras, some in Haiti. One of the questions a woman on the tour asked, which is something that I've been kind of curious about. Obviously, there was a time decades and decades ago when the whole value chain of cotton resided here in the US, the growing all the way through the processing and into the final garments. So a lot of that naturally is now overseas. And so in my mind, it's like, well, gosh, we're seeing a resurgence, if you will, or some manufacturing to come back, even in textiles. And I was thinking like of Casper mattresses and other clothing brands that are, touting their made in the US label. Um, the executive from Gildan did mention, for instance, when the manufacture of t-shirts, for instance, in Honduras, there's a lot of manual labor that goes into the cutting and the sewing. They have 5,000 people dedicated to these types of, that part of the value chain. And he said, it's nearly impossible. It's not that we couldn't build a facility there or here in the US, but to get that concentration of laborers with the expertise, not to mention to do that cutting and sewing is really what probably won't ever come back to the US. So that kind of made sense. But honestly, it was just really great to see, again, just a massive facility that they have, state of the art. Great. In fact, it was nice to have that be in the latter part of the tour, because having spent the prior day at Cotton Incorporated and learning about spinning, whether it's the ring spinner, the rotor spinner, airjet being the most recent tech that spins, but it kind of made sense. So when we went to the mill, the last part of the tour, it's like, I recognize this, and here's it. So it was great. It was just so awesome. And I will say, it's just we heard from so many people from Cotton Incorporated, as well as Marjorie Walker, VP of Council Operations for the National Cotton Council. We heard from William Kimbrell, President and CEO of Cotton Incorporated, and then various leadership from each of the aspects, be it global supply chain and stuff. I did want to mention what was so exciting, and just before I left for this cotton tour, I read a newly released Rabobank report. The report was entitled "Waist Deep: A Growing Backlash Against Fast Fashion Could Spell New Opportunity for U.S. Cotton." So I was like, what? This is exciting.
Yeah, I
So
remember you mentioned that in last video about a week or two ago. Yeah.
yeah, so um, the trying to change consumer behavior about, fast fashion, and especially, just discarding garments and how they're accumulating in the landfill. So they spent a fair amount of time on that. Kim Kitchings is the Senior VP for Consumer Marketing for Cotton Inc. And it was great. We talked about not only that, but I would say one of the big takeaways for me, which was really encouraging, is that because we know, just like other row crop growers right now, I mean, the cotton industry is just really having a tough time. So, you're looking for those bright spots. The campaigns that they're doing, not only across the globe for others in the cotton sector, but for consumers, trying to, raise awareness. For instance, I'm trying to learn about microplastics. I wasn't aware that even when you wash polyester clothing, for instance, a lot of microplastics are shed with each wash cycle. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So suffice it to say is that if I wasn't on the, cotton campaign before and wearing cotton clothes, I certainly am now. I really, we just learned a lot. And really the amount of effort and outreach that the Cotton Board, Cotton Inc., National Cotton Council, and these supporting orgs around them, they're just doing a fabulous job, and they're really getting out there and trying to raise awareness with retailers, suppliers, all the way down to the consumer. So I just really commend them. It was just such a wonderful tour. We all learned a lot. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the couple videos and little clips. I was carrying around my phone, and I'm probably not as good as he was, like doing things on the fly. Maybe some of them are a little bit crooked, but I think the message will come across. But it was a great trip. So
Well, that's good. I'm glad you learned. I mean, you're learning a lot about the cotton market, which is probably going to be very useful for us as we move forward and some of these markets start to cross over a little bit more in their marketing and their initiatives and sustainability and everything else we look at. So
yep, it all goes together.
good
Yep,
deal.
great trip.
All right. Well, then, hey, let's end this video and on a high note, hopefully, as we always do. Time for your favorite segment of the show. Time for Fun with Numbers.
Hey, I'm gonna get it right this week. Well, I think I did last week, but
I think you did do it last week, yes. So see if we can get 2 weeks in a row here. So, Miss Laura, your number, it's a big one this week.
okay,
19.7 billion.
19.7.
19.7 billion.
Okay. All right.
All right. So it was 19.7 billion. Is that A, the current US ag export deficit? Is it B, the current US ag export surplus? Is it C, the projected US ag export surplus for 2026? Or is it D, what Laura Sowinski expects to spend on her Women in Ag Tech wardrobe?
Oh, goodness.
I know you change a lot for that event. I know it's even only a half a day, but it seems like you are the fashion queen. So.
I've never been accused of that, but that sounds like a nice compliment. Thank you. Um, what, yeah, I'm going with A, the deficit.
Yes, and you are correct. Unfortunately, yeah, this was not a
Number.
real positive item. The USDA was looking at US ag exports for
Mhm.
here in 2025, and they mentioned just through the first 4 months, January to April, that the US imported $78.2 billion in ag products, but exported only 58.8 billion. So that 19.7 billion difference represents the largest deficit for the first 4 months of a year ever. And
Yeah,
that based on that, if this deficit curve continues, they're projecting it by the end of 2025, the US could be at a $49.5 billion ag export deficit, which would be the largest on record. So,
yeah,
and again, they mentioned the fact that, there've been all the tariffs and all the trade talk going back and forth with different countries and the strength of the dollar internationally is just all these
yeah.
factors are kind of teaming up, ganging up, if you will, and that is hurting ag exports at the moment. And fingers crossed, hopefully things will improve and it won't be quite that big. I mean, almost $50 billion deficit, trade deficit, ag exports would not be a good story for us to report at the end of the year, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, ag exports have always been a bright spot in our trade relations. So yeah, we've got a half a year to fix that.
Yeah, the report mentioned that through 2022 or 23, I believe that U.S. ag exports were always at a surplus, and then they hit a deficit, and they've just been going in the wrong direction ever since. So on a
Right.
downer note, I'm sorry. Well, hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed this edition of CropLife Retail Week about my adventures in Montana and Laura's down in North Carolina, and we will hope to see you again next week. And until then, stay healthy and enjoy. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.